guys, welcome back to Getaway Girls TV. This is a platform where we discuss relevant topics that are prevalent in today's times. And today we're going to continue the conversation that we had last week around social justice and racial justice. So I'm going to introduce who's here today. So we've got Emily. Do you want to give him a wave, Emily? We've got Paulette, we've got Sarah, we've got Shads, and we've got Rebecca. Did you all want to just introduce yourself a little bit?
Well, I'm Paulette Morris and I work for Getaway Girls. I do the creative writing group, She Writes. I'm very much active in the community.
I'm Sarah. I attend Getaway Girls. I'm a uni student, just here to help with the Girls Forum, and I used to do the Global Girls group as well.
All right, perfect. Hi, my name is Shahad Nantavasagaja, but I go by Shads. I am a contemporary dancer training at Northern School of Contemporary Dance. And I also work with RJC. I've been volunteering at RJC Dance as well, which is a charity. I think I started in 2012 at Getaway Girls. I'm not sure. But I went for a little while doing summer skims and poetry groups.
Yeah. Hi, my name's Rebecca and I've been going to Getaway Girls for about 7 years now. And I've just been involved in various things like the Girls Forum and usually part of Global Girls.
Hi, I'm Emily. I am usually behind the scenes doing the social media and whatnot, but yeah, I just wanted to get involved in this conversation. I usually work in PR, but I just like help out with Getaway Girls stuff on the side. So yeah. So after last week's video, like T said, we just wanted to kind of bring this conversation back, get some new faces in. So that's me and Shads. And just have a bit more of an in-depth conversation because obviously it's a big topic and there's lots to cover. So the first question we wanted to go over again, I mean, you guys have kind of answered it, but for me and Shads, was what are the main changes that you want to see off the back of the Black Lives Matter movement? So Shads, do you want to?
Honestly, I feel like I know certain schools are already inclusive, but I would like to see more minorities in dance schools. Do you know what I'm saying? Like it will be something nice to see. And I also would like to, if they could abolish the whole thing, you know, when you're applying for jobs or even applying for housing or whatever, you have to say what race you are.
Yes, Why does that matter?
You know, why does that matter? I don't see why my race in order for me to, do you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Those are, I want to see get abolished and just try to see a change in those kinds of legislations.
Can I just respond to that point? I think that's a really, really good point because I think that was put in the monitoring. Ticking the box is about monitoring and it's about equality. It's actually about equality. It's about saying how many Black people are you employing? Are you keeping up to what we said in terms of equality, the law of equality? But what it served to do is, I don't think it serves its purpose. And I think for me personally, you're right. We should just be seen as people. What it tells us about the country we live in is that they need to know what race we're from before we proceed. Yeah, and I don't think it's until we can get rid of that, then we know it's choice, and it was left up to the choice of the British people to employers, and they didn't want to in the 60s and the 70s, and now they're being forced to. That law just says, have you got enough people from these communities? And I think that's wrong.
See, when I think of those boxes as well, like even ask if you're straight, gay, bisexual, like. What does that matter in terms of me applying myself to this job that I know I'm good enough for? Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, it's crazy, but I agree that should be abolished completely. Like, what is the relevance of it? You know, it is monitoring, definitely, Paulette.
100%. In terms of my main changes that I want to see, I would like, probably got a few, but first of all, I want to see more people voting for people that stand for these kind of movements. So for me, anybody that screams Black Lives Matter but votes for Tories, I just don't get it, because when you've got someone in power like we have now, that's made such racist comments, just these outlandish, disgusting comments, and I think if people vote for this man, like nothing is ever going to change really, because he's at the very top, and these are the people that make the changes and make the decisions. So I think it's good that everyone, you know, all of us guys and all these new white people that are just joining the movement are getting involved and stuff. It's really good that people are seeing it and speaking about it. But I think that it starts at the top. Like you need to go to the very top and make those changes first, and then hopefully it stems down and then everything can progress nicely. My second one would be, I want to see more white people calling people out. Like if you've got a racist uncle, then call him out. Don't just sit there and listen to his nonsense. I'm trying not to swear. Don't just sit there and listen to him saying whatever he's saying, you know, kind of challenge them and say, why do you think these things? And yeah, just calling people out, because again, it's all well and good saying that you agree with it, but if you're not calling these people out, then, you know, no change is going to be made. And then same as Shad's kind of the thing about job descriptions and having to submit your race and even your name. I know that last week we discussed kind of people not getting jobs based on their names. And obviously that's something that I would never have to worry about, but I'm very aware that this happens. My friend used to work in a call center, and she's got an African name, and the call center asked her to change her name when she rang people up, just so that it was easier for people to understand. So she was going by Abigail on the phone. It's like, that's not her name.
You see it with the call centers in India, like they have English names when you know that's potentially not their real name.
Yeah,
it's really bad.
So yeah, just interestingly, I used to work in a small PR agency, and it was part of this business development program, and they used to get people to come in and do different talks every so often. And this guy came in and he did a really interesting talk about why you should not screen CVs and take the names off and just literally just look at the experience. And the majority of the people in the room were white, and it was interesting to see their reaction to that, because obviously not experiencing it, a lot of them didn't understand what he was talking about. And there was a lot of people coming back saying, I'm not racist, I've had a black employee, blah, 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 all that stuff. But actually, when you think about it, it makes sense. And as much as you don't want to say unconscious bias, but that, you know, people do have these biases. And if you didn't see people's names, not that it should matter, but you know, you might be more likely to get a more diverse range of people interviewed and things like that. But that sparked a really big debate actually in my old office. Like with my old boss, we were trying to explain to her about white privilege, and she wouldn't acknowledge that she had white privilege. Like she didn't believe that it existed. And there was a lot of well, I've had a hard upbringing, so you know, I'm not privileged. And it's just, especially as white people, it's explaining these things to people that have these responses, I think, and kind of trying to explain why, okay, you might have had a hard upbringing, but you still have white privilege. You know, you're still not going to not get that job based on your name. You're still not going to be followed around in the shop or whatever based on your skin color and all this stuff. So just challenging people really, and just making sure that you don't let people say things in front of you.
I think when it comes to people don't understand is they'll compare themselves to a rich black person and say, well, they're rich, they're more privileged than me.
Yeah,
that's not what they're talking about. If you're a white working class family, you will compare them to a black working class family, and there are differences between them. That's what you compare on the same level. It's not, you won't compare like Barack Obama to the next man on the street. That's not what they're talking about. But they see it as monetary value. It's on the same level. What privileges do you have which a black or Asian family would not have? They just understand it.
I've seen a lot of that recently, especially with because Stormzy donated, was it 10 million or something towards the cause? And then if you go in, you should never ever look in Facebook comments, but if you look at the Facebook comments, all it is just all of these middle-aged white men like, oh, here's a millionaire telling me that I'm privileged. And it's like, no, no, that's not what he's doing. It's just, I feel
like that goes down to ignorance. Like, why even come to that realization, like it is what it is. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's so frustrating just to hear those kind of just ignorant comments. Like, yeah. I was just gonna say, whilst we're on this subject of like challenging people, like, you know, a lot of people say they don't see skin colour. Like, I clearly see skin colour. So, like, being a white woman, Emily, like, how do you feel just like with this whole movement that's happening? Like, do you feel you have a responsibility, and how are your other white friends reacting and responding to what's happening?
I think, again, it was mentioned in the last video last week, but I think that at this point, you know, Black people have been fighting this for years and years and years. And I mean, I've been involved in this. We went to the protests 4 years ago and stuff, but I do think at this point it is a conversation that white people need to have, and it's our responsibility again to just call people out. And I also think it's tricky because, like we were saying, some people just don't get it. So I think that if you explain it to them, but then they still continue their ignorant behavior, that's the problem. Like, I think, okay, people might not understand at first, but they need to be open to understanding and making changes. Do you know what I mean? Like,
the problem with this country specifically is there's a big denial culture. They say, oh, you know, Britain's not racist, we're really multicultural. And that's like a part of the issue, because people can't recognise, like, it'll be in front of their face and they can't recognise it because they're just like, Britain's not racist. But systematically, yeah, it is. And there are a lot of people in the country who are racist. And I think as well, when you're having the discussion with, you know, like, say somebody who's white, a lot of people, they see it as like an attack, or they see it as deflecting from other issues. It's not an attack. And so people get defensive and they get their backs up when they shouldn't, because, you know.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I totally agree. I think that's the thing about being open to it. Kind of, just because you haven't experienced it doesn't mean it's not happening, you know. Like, there's many things I haven't experienced, but I'm not going to be like, no, that's not true, because I've not experienced it. And I'm sure it's the same with all of you. Like, there's things that everyone hasn't experienced, but it's just weird to me that people just seem to be ignorant to it. It's like, you know,
I think it's really difficult to like accept something about yourself that someone else is saying. You don't actually believe this because your life is of privilege, so you have no reason to think anybody else's life isn't similar to yours. And I think it goes down to education, and it goes down to the shared history that's not shared. So we have a shared history. Us from those other communities have a shared history with Britain. And again, I don't think that's shared, and I don't think that's valued in the sense of how we got here, why are we here, what are the reasons, what is colonialism, what is empire, you know, because the Queen talks about her empire, but no one discusses what that is, or what do the people of the empire think, you know, because of the empire existed, you know, took over nearly half of the world, more than half of the world. So there's so many different people who have an experience of Britain, who have an opinion of Britain, who speak their language and are not welcome here, but have an experience and have a shared history with Britain. And I think that's part of the problem. And I think if they went back and they truly looked at history, they would understand where racism came from. It came from somewhere, it came from a belief. And I think some people think, well, Africans put you in slavery and it was other people. Actually, slavery, 400 years of anyone being oppressed is horrific. That is a Holocaust. That is more than I could even imagine, you know, for 400 years, people. So I think it goes back to, no one's attacking anyone. We're just saying, this is what it is. It's what it is. We're not trying to attack anyone. My people are amazing. You know, Black people are the most amazing people because we've survived all of this. We've still survived, and we're here today. We're functioning. We do suffer from, I believe, post-traumatic stress. There's that conversation that needs to be had within our community, because we have had effects from slavery. But we would love to talk to our neighbours, because we live in the multicultural communities. Us here live in those communities. We live around all different kind of cultures, because that's just the way that Britain initially, the housing was, put them all together, or we just sought that solace together. And you know, in my community I live in true Britain. I live in the true Britain. True Britain is multicultural. This is where I live. I live with all kind of different people around me. So again, I think that conversation is difficult, because it's accepting things that Harewood House came out and said, yeah, we had our part in slavery, we got paid out. As a child going to Harewood House to visit Harewood House as a stately home, I had no idea it had connections with the Caribbean, and my people had no idea. It's written out of the history that some of the wealth that came here is hidden. And I just think, yeah, we're not angry about it, because we're not really, we're not angry, we're not, it's like the idea of the angry back person. We probably could be trying to, be really angry, but I don't think we are. I think we're a great people.
Think we are. I just think we're just tired. Do you know what I mean? We're just tired, and we're ready for change. We're ready for change, and have been for however long. And I just feel like, things need to start taking momentum, or things need to start moving in a direction where we feel that, there's some progression, or there's some kind of movement in what's already like different to what's happening at the minute.
I was going to say, in terms of some white people as well, there are some which are willing to listen, but some people are willfully obtuse. Like, they know everything that's gone on. Like, they know that, but if they were to admit what has happened, then that will, I think in some people's mind, that means they have to admit fault, so then they have to make some sort of reparations. So, and they don't want to get to any reparations, so they'll just outright ignore the entire issue, because I mean, most of Britain's wealth is not from here. One of the main rubies in the Queen's crown is from somewhere in Asia that she stole.
That's right.
Should probably give that back. But they don't want to have that conversation, so that's why they'll just outright ignore.
Yeah, absolutely agree. No, it is a violent past, and I think a lot of countries have that past, of violence. And I think yes, we need to learn from that, rather than try to bury that and pretend, oh, we were great and we were fantastic. And then there's these people trying their hardest to say, actually, you weren't that great. Look at us, please listen. And I think we feel like people like always being outside of that conversation, like you said, not necessarily really being, because I think white people are suspicious of what we want to do now. What do you want to do now? And I think what we want to do now is, what I would like, is for this bias training to go in effect, and for this bias training to be rolled out across most of the, like you said, top levels. Because how do you get to be Prime Minister? How did Boris Johnson get there? He got there because he went to the right university, because he got the right education, and he got supported, and he got pushed up there, and he saw himself up there because he could see around that there was many like him. And it's an all boys school network type of, we couldn't, so that's the type of president, that's the kind of, even the presidents as well. I mean, they broke the mold with Donald Trump, but there's a certain type of person that will get to those. My daughter in her job, it's that a lot of them have had a lot of support in terms of, being in the right universities, being in the right situations to be able to have a job in certain up there. And I think, again, it's not saying we want, because some people think, well, why should they get any more extra help than us? It's not that. It's just that they are qualified black people out there. They are. But again, it is a very much of a white corporate world. But we do need to be in there, and we need to be, our voices need to be heard in there. So I would like to have that bias training rolled out, so people are aware of their biases, and not that we're trying to criticize them, but that they can actively see the power that they do have, and how that can destroy another community. Just in their perception that, yes, she's great for the job, but she just won't fit into the office. She just won't fit into our little chitty chatty. So it's not that she's not good for the job. It's just, we talk about whatever she might not fit in, and that's sometimes that's what it is, I think. Yeah. And again, I just want to ask Emily again, because we have a whole generations of children that are dual heritage, and your son again, and a lot of those dual heritage children feel confused. They feel a bit like, I don't know what side, and it's this side, and I just what do you give to your child? How do you educate your child in terms of giving him a balanced view of society and how they perceive him?
I mean, it's a tricky one, because obviously I'm a single parent of a dual heritage child. So in terms of the culture from his dad's side of the family, like, I personally don't, I know bits about it and that sort of thing, but I don't have the experiences to share with him and that kind of thing. So in terms of racism and things like that, I mean, it's not something we really discussed until recently, like, and when all the when the 2020 Black Lives Matter things started happening, that's when I started talking to him about it, and I kind of explained what was going on in the world, and I started by talking about protests, and I was like, this is why people are protesting. And he also goes to a very diverse school, which is one of the things, to be fair, when I had Luca, I knew I'm moving house so that he goes to a diverse school. I don't want him to be the only Black kid in the school, because I mean, if you watch last week's videos, just about the experiences that Rebecca, you shared, and Paulette also, like, I just didn't want that for him. And yeah, he goes to school with there's kids from all different backgrounds. So when I was explaining racism to him, we kind of spoke about how everybody looks different, you know, like mummy's friends are all different, and just about how sometimes people treat people differently based on the way they look, and how, you know, it's not fair, but it happens, and that's why we have to protest, and we have to speak up and use our voices to make changes. I mean, the most
can I just ask you, Emily, is this a conversation that you found difficult to have with him? Or did you find it really necessary that you'd had to have this conversation with him?
I think so, because there was a protest planned in Leeds, and I thought we'd definitely go into this protest. I thought I'm not just going to take him and he doesn't know what's going on, you know. So I mean, it's always been in the back of my mind, like, when's the right time to discuss this with him? I mean, he's only 6 years old, you know, it's tricky. Is he old enough? Who knows? But anyway, he knows now. So
I think he's old enough, definitely.
Yeah, it's, I mean, again, and that's my privilege speaking, because obviously you guys as Black people, this is something that you talk about probably from, you know, from when you're really small kids, and it's something you know about from when you're small. But because I've not had these experiences in my childhood, that's me tiptoeing around it and kind of thinking, oh, is he too young, blah blah blah. But he's not. It was hard to talk about it with him, but we did it in a way that we made a big poster. It's on Getaway Girls Instagram if you want to see it. We made a big poster, so like, as we were talking about it, we were kind of doing something creative, and it was kind of, that was the talking point. So I think I think that was a good way to do it, and he loves drawing and stuff anyway, so for him that was a good way. But obviously it's different for different kids, I don't know.
Because I think it's quite interesting as well, because I think as well, you know, with dual heritage, I have dual heritage, you know, grandchildren, and again, it concerns me again how they're seeing this, because there's been torn between one and the other, or is, you know, and you don't want that. You want it to be that they feel grounded, and that the opportunities are there for all young people, you know. And I just think it's interesting, because again, as a you know, to say, you know, with your children, is that a conversation that you've had to have with your children?
More so with, like, my eldest daughter's 20, so she has experienced a bit of racism, whether it's through jobs or at school. So she gets it completely and is very passionate about it. My younger daughter, who's 13, she is probably not as kind of in tune with it all. I mean, we have conversations about it, but I think it doesn't affect her. She's not really experienced it, or if she has experienced it, she hasn't really recognised it as being racist. If I haven't been around to say that it is definitely somebody being racist. So I think she's just very much in that young mind and not really kind of taking on what's happening. However, she's very much in tune about what's happening in the world and what's going on, because we obviously have that dialogue. But I was going to say as well, like, I find, like, especially like for dual heritage, because I think there's that difficulty sometimes, in the sense of, like, if a dual heritage child might say that they present themselves as Black and not dual heritage. And then if a dual heritage child says that, you know, I am dual heritage, you know, one of my parents is white, one of them is Black, and that's how I class myself. I don't class myself as Black. I think that plays a part in how how it might affect them as young people. I don't know if I've made that. You understand how I've put that?
Yes, I do. Absolutely understand. Yeah, I do.
Like, I feel like, for example, like you're saying, your grandchildren, I think them having a black mother and
yes, yeah,
and grandma,
yes,
things like that. I think their experience might be different to somebody like yourself, Emily, who's white and has a dual heritage son. Do you understand what I mean? So I think
absolutely understand. Yeah, I do.
How they, I don't even know what the point I'm trying to make, but I just feel like
I understand what you're saying, because
you kind of.
Because sometimes it is about identity, and our young people struggle with who am I, where am I, and even just self-identifying, you know what it means. And I think you're right, because my little granddaughter, I think she's only 3, and she said to me, I'm black, but my sister's white like her daddy. And that statement, I thought, she thinks she's black like me, I'm black like you, but my sister's white like her daddy. And I'm like, okay, all right. But she's thinking about it, and I didn't ever put it in her head, but she's already been aware that this, right, I want to be that way, I want to be this side, and she can be there, but I'll be here. I didn't take it too seriously. I kind of just thought, okay, because again, like I said, that
because they're only young, and to have that notion already,
Yeah, absolutely. I have that idea. Exactly. And again, it's just being able to be, it's about celebrating life, and it's about seeing ourselves as human beings. Somewhere along the line, I'm hoping we can all see ourselves as human beings, and that's what we are from race. And not to say colour isn't important, because like you said, and I agree, that's the first thing I see your skin. I see your skin, it covers most of all your body, and your color is what I see. So people say, I don't see color. Don't say that. You do see color. I am black. I'm a black woman. See me as a black woman, please. But
and it's so weird just saying that comment, Paulette, though, because when I was younger, probably I don't know, about 14, 15, if one of my white friends had said, I don't see color, at that age, I took that as, oh, right, that's great. You don't see colour. Do you know what I mean? I really genuinely thought that as like a positive thing, that my white friend did not see colour. I was totally uneducated and not open to that fact of, well, you must see colour because I am a different colour to you. Do you know what I mean? It's only until I got older that I thought, I realised that that's totally wrong. Because one of my friends, as I was older, said it to me, and I was like, whoa, like, how can you not see colour? And we both had this deep conversation about not being able to see colour. But when I was young, I totally thought it was a cool thing.
Yeah, and I want to see colour, because in nature there's all kinds of different colours and it exists perfectly together. I look out there and think, oh my gosh, that red and that green and the blue, whatever, it all fits nicely, and it's just us that just don't seem to work it out, and it's that's a shame. I mean, what about you guys as young people? How did your parents, like, did they tell you anything? Did you feel like, oh, I knew, or I found out for myself?
For me, I always, because I went to a multicultural primary school, it was mostly black children, and like there's a couple of white people. So I didn't really face it that much at school, even though there was like a couple of like little white kids that parroted some of the nonsense the parents had told them. But more so because I lived in a white area where we're like, it's more multicultural now in like Middleton and Belle Isle. But when we moved here, we were like the only ones. So we had some problems, like when I was younger, like these white kids, they were like a bit rough, and they would like throw things at the house at first and things like that. And I would like go to the police, and they wouldn't really like deal with it. So my dad took matters into his own hands.
Sounds like my dad's like that.
He squashed the issue by getting a bit rough with them. But yeah, that went on for a while. They would just like throw things at the house, and like when it was snowy, because it gets quite snowy here in the winter, they might throw snowballs and things. So that was like when we were like about 4 or 5. So I knew from then. I knew it was like racism because obviously I'd experienced it. So it wasn't. I'm not really ever shocked shocked when things happen because I've like, I don't know, I've just always seen it. So
It's been part of your life.
yeah.
Yeah. What about yourself, Sarah? Like, how did you kind of come across this idea of, oh, racism, what's that?
Oh yeah,
We're different. Are we different, really?
Yeah, it was in like primary school, I think, because like my primary school, I never really used to think about it really, you know, you never really notice it that small, but it was just like naturally when I look back now, I noticed I had 3 friends in primary school and all 3 of them were brown and we were the only, you know, ones in the class. So like you naturally kind of lean towards people of similar experience to you. And then there was also like even in the playground, you know, the school was mixed quite a bit, but there was obviously still problems. So like even the first time like I got called, you know, the P word, like that was in primary school, like literally just out of nowhere, and I had no idea how to respond to that. And to me it wasn't like a discussion with my parents, it was more with my siblings, because all my siblings are older than me. So my oldest sister, I went to her and she was like, she gave me, so she was like, you got knocked her out, which obviously didn't do that. I didn't do that, obviously. But like, so yeah, so it was just like because she was in high school at the time, so when she was growing up, she'd tell us stories. No, she went to high school in Belial, like when our schools just merged and stuff. So she had a lot of issues when she'd be coming back home. She'd be walking through Belial, people would, you know, say things to her or to her friends and stuff like that, and they'd be shouting stuff at her, and that was literally just on their walk home from school. So she experienced it more than me, and that's why she was really defensive when giving advice to me, I guess. I couldn't see that. And obviously I went to quite a few schools, so I think the second school that I went to, that was really like really diverse. So there was a lot of like refugee kind of like, you know, students there, and people who were from mixed backgrounds and people who didn't have English as a first language. And so when I got to high school it was a lot better, but it was more so when you start venturing out at that age, you go to town or you get on the bus and, you know, you notice people like look at you different, or that, you know, they'll talk at you like as you walk past and stuff like that, and they'll be rude, or, you know, like, you know, I was stood on the bus, like even as recent as when we came back from Norway, like I remember I was on the bus with my suitcase and like I was just trying to get back into town. I was on the number 12 bus and I literally was just like, okay, I just need to get into town and I can get my own bus home, and nobody would like move out of the way, you know, where the prams be. So
the prams were,
So I was stood in the aisle because the bus was full, and obviously I can't haul the big suitcase upstairs. And this woman comes past, this old woman, and she's like, you need to get out of the way, you know, you're getting in everyone's way. And she just tutted in my face. And the next thing you know, another woman comes from downstairs and she's like, you should really move out of the way. You know, I was like, you would not speak to me like this if I was anything else.
Like, what was you doing that was so wrong? There's no room.
I was like, don't, just because you're getting off the bus, don't get funny with me now. Like, I'm not causing a problem for anybody. If anybody has that big of an issue, they would have like asked me, or people would have moved out of the way. Why don't you speak to them? But like literally, it's little things like that they're not overtly racist, but you know that they're coming from
there. And this is the thing, just to interrupt, sorry, this is the thing I think as a person of colour, that you always have to sometimes like it's like a second question you ask yourself, like, was that okay, or was that something? It's like in any situation you always feel like you have to ask yourself a second time, was that the message I needed to receive, or was that something else undertoned? And I think as a black person, it's something that's followed me throughout all my life. Like I've had to always ask that second question.
Because do you think people make you feel like you're paranoid because you've got this chip on your shoulder? They say we've got chips on our shoulders, or that we're just paranoid, or we're just eccentrically making it up. You know, do you get that sense?
Definitely.
Yeah.
And I've asked other black people and brown people about that. Like, do they have to ask themselves like a second time, was that comment meant in that way? And they said like most definitely they have had to do that like all the time, just like second guessing a question or a comment. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But sorry, Shad, I jumped in.
No. My first experience of like racism in general was like I was like 8 years old. We hadn't spoken about racism in general because I grew up in Uganda where everyone's black, and when there was someone of like a different race, usually either Asian or Indian, like it wouldn't be that thing of where everyone's can tell that everyone's noticing that they're from a different race. Does that make sense? It's like everyone
Yes, it
kind
does.
of, it wasn't, there was no alarm like, oh, so this one's different. Do you know what I'm saying? So when I came here, I don't know, I guess, I don't know. I don't think I had any expectations, but I didn't expect to feel so like a celebrity, but not really, because literally everywhere I went, eyes were turning as if they just like I first moved here, like I moved to Doncaster, and by then we were the only only black people there, only people on my street, and we were kids as well. Every time I would walk to school, with my big sister, we would get things thrown at us, as in eggs thrown at our windows every day, flour. It was just like very shocking because at first I didn't think it was because of race until my mom told me, and she was like, "Yeah, we need to move out of here." But it's just because they don't like our color. Like she had to break that down for me, and I just didn't understand it. I didn't grasp it because I was still thinking that they just want to play. Do you know what I'm saying? Mm. No, yeah. So when I moved to Leeds, it was kind of different because it was more of a multicultural city. Because I moved like to England in 2006, so like it was a bit multicultural by 2007 here when I came to Leeds. So it was kind of different in the way that I came and people were still isolated, like in the dining rooms, like at school, we were still like, okay, 3 black people here. And then, I don't know, it was just different. You see the separation, even though people do get along. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
So,
yes, it does.
I guess that's the major thing that I've also noticed in my adult life as well, like when it comes to going to college or dance school, because I've only been in places where I'm literally one of the only black people there. Do you know what I'm saying? It's still like, feels like you kind of segregate yourself to the people of color, and it's harder for you to, do you know what I'm saying, for all of us to kind of like get along.
Absolutely, yeah.
I do a lot of
Still,
work in schools. I do a lot of work in schools, and you see that, Shads, like you see, even in today's time, groups of just black kids, then just groups of white kids, and it's very apparent, like that they're separated. And you know, I asked the teachers, like, why is this? Why are the schools not doing anything to mix the groups more together, or you know, what is the why?
And I don't know if that's even a good thing. I've been thinking about that, like, because for black people to segregate, or like people of color to segregate themselves in a way, and kind of they're looking for something they can relate to in a way. Do you know what I'm saying? So I feel like if we had more multicultural schools where all schools are kind of like mixed properly, does that make sense? Not a sense where people feel the need to isolate themselves in order to relate to each other. Do you know what I'm saying?
I think that's down to the school.
I don't know how to tackle that.
And can I just say as well, it's down to housing, because originally housing was racist, so there was institutional racism within the housing. So black people would be put in that area, white people would move out and go into that area. So the segregation has happened through housing. Unity Housing Association came about to change that. So one of Unity's housing policy is to place black people, Asian people, white people. So you're not you're kind of mixing up the housing stock, and like you said, because you fell into an area that was predominantly white. Especially in Leeds here, and we can't really say it is quite segregated. And it's been like that. Chapeltown is the main. Chapeltown, Hare Hill's the main black areas. And then you have other areas, Dewsbury, Belle Isle, a few black people up there, but not many would venture. Some Asians would venture maybe even further afield, because in some of the villages, you'll find some Asian people living with just pure white people. And, you know, because I travel with my dad, I travel all over the country and I see I think, wow, this village, there's an Asian, there's a curry house in the little village. But there's no black people that live here, but Asian people live here. And again, you know, like you said, having to be like 8 years old, and what does that do to you psychologically? Being 8 years old, realizing, because I know what it did to me.
Already having to watch your back every time, and it doesn't allow you to be a child, if that makes sense. Like back home, I feel like I was able to be a child and not think about, I need to worry about being. Do you know what I'm saying? Being
I've got a friend from Nigeria, and she basically, when she lived in Nigeria, she came over when she was 12, and she didn't realize she was black until she came to England.
Yeah,
Wow.
same
Because
here. I'm not gonna lie.
obviously everybody in Nigeria looks the same. Everybody looks the same, and nobody made it a thing that we're black. Everybody I'm around is black. It's only when I came to England that people started to point out or made me feel a different way about being black. Do you know what I mean? And I just thought that was so interesting that you lived 12 years and not even really like known that you were black or different until you've come to the UK, and that's where, you know, I don't know if that was similar for you, Shads.
It was, but like I was exposed to more different races back home because my country in general has got lots of different races, mainly Indian and Korean and Chinese. Like we've got different races, but it's never been a thing of you are treated different because of your race. Do you know what I'm saying? Because everyone is so welcoming in my culture, anyway. We're very welcoming people. So I guess it was just a cultural shock and also a racial one too.
Yeah.
You know, moving here. It took me a very long time to even, because I don't know, to just put myself out there, because now I've got to really second guess everyone's intentions.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like, is your high going to lead into you questioning why my hair's like this?
Yes.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Like, question everything.
Yeah.
Worry about the interactions as well. Yes, it's been very interesting.
And I think sometimes people don't understand, you know, if you're saying, Emily, that might not be somebody who's white, British. They might never have had that experience where people think, oh, why's your hair like that? Or, you know, because again, you know, I remember people saying to me, why is your skin like that? I said, what do you mean? Like, why is it shining? I said, oh, we have to grease our skin. Oh, yuck. So you put, yeah. You know, and these are girls at school, and I understand they didn't understand, and it's fine. I'm happy to explain, but the reaction was like, that is so nasty to put grease in your hair. Yeah. You know, or on your skin. But again, it's that idea of educating, or what, have we got the time to educate? Really? I don't know if I've got the time. What about you, Rebecca? Have you got the time to educate the whole everybody you meet? You know, you know.
No, and I think at this point as well, white people need to do the educating at some point
themselves.
People that get it, and that allies, or whatever the term is.
I don't know terms. You know what I mean?
Yeah, just like surely that's just normal people.
You know, you said an important thing though, Emily. You said about calling people out, and for me, I'm wondering how easy is that, because this white silence idea, you know, white silence is violence, and I kind of thought, yes, it's true, because you being silent is not, and even with Brexit and these, you know, they say it divided a nation, because, you know, some people are saying that, you know, these people must just go, and then, you know, again, how do you feel? You know, like, it could be an argument, it could turn into you falling out with people, or
but I'm fine with arguing with people, honestly. I don't I love an argument. No, I'm kidding, but I just think, to be honest, I've always been the sort of person that if I see or hear something, I'm gonna call them out. Like that, I've just always been like that. But like I said, like my mum, you know, my mum's run youth projects in various areas, and I've kind of always been involved in these communities and just had friends of all different backgrounds, and it's just never some of the things that cross these racist people's minds, like they've just never crossed my mind, you know. So I just half the time I don't understand like where they're coming from, because I don't get how people think like that. But anyway, in terms of calling people out, I find it quite easy, especially now with having my son. But even before then, to be honest, like obviously when you're younger, you're a bit more, I don't know, you probably find it a bit more difficult, and there probably will have been times, like I'm not trying to say that I'm the perfect person. There probably will have been times where I've heard things and, you know, not said anything, and that's, you know, shameful for me. But especially nowadays, and like myself, and to be honest, all of my white friends, I would like to think, would call people out, whether it's family members or friends. And at this point, fair enough, you can't choose your family, but you can choose your friends. And if your friends are being racist, why are you still friends with them? Do you know what I mean? Especially if it's someone like me who's got, you know, a dual heritage son. You just can't have friends that have these views, because it doesn't make sense. You know, they're overtly discriminating against the people you love most. It's just, it doesn't make sense. But
I mean, I was thinking, you know, thanks for that. I mean, I was thinking somebody who's like younger, and because some of our Getaway girls are younger, and what if it's a parent? or an uncle.
Yeah.
And I think it's when you're a child, it's hard to call out an adult, because I think it's just such a fear to say that's wrong, or and you as a child.
They're your role
Yeah.
models, are people you aspire to be like. So that's going to be real tough. And 9 times out of 10, that's where it's coming from, because you're not born into this world racist, so it stems from your family or your upbringing, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And again, that's probably why I find it so easy to call people out, is because my mum's the same. She's not going to sit there and listen to people saying these things. So I guess in that sense, that is why I'm just like, no, you should call it out straight away. But then I don't know, I don't have the experience of having a racist parent, so I can't really comment for them people. But in my mind, I just think if you hear something you don't agree with in any sense, whether it's sexism or racism or whatever, then I think you should call it out. So I think people just need to get braver, because it's not at this point, it's kind of gone beyond the point of being able to sit there and listen to people now. Like if you're saying that you agree with the Black Lives Matter movement and you are an ally, then you need to act on it, kind of thing. Don't just post on Instagram, you need to act on it as well. So
because I think it is a difficult conversation to have, calling people out. I get it, and I think it should be done, but I think it is difficult, like you said, when it comes within your family, and it might be having to call out an uncle or somebody older, and I think that can be difficult. And I think for some of our younger members, I think it's a conversation that I think is necessary. We need to have that conversation, because I think it is definitely in families. And again, I think there's always, like you said, there's Brexit that's come up, that's kind of masks some of that as well. So the Brexit idea of, we've got too many people, that masks a little bit, and so it's kind of tied up in other things as well. The fact that it's our immigration policy, it's not because we're racist, it's because we've got too many immigrants here, which do amazing jobs, and they don't necessarily get all the benefits that they think they should get. And I think that's another issue of perception. Anybody coming from somewhere else is just trying to get something from England, not contribute. So we're not seen as contribution. And again, this BME, I don't know what you guys think of that name, but just like, what does it mean? What does it mean? What is it?
I hate that BAME thing.
And maybe one of it, and I know they need to have, well, I don't know why they need to have, but they need to have it because of racism. And I think that's why they need to have it. They need to have this monitoring because of racism. And it's not just because they're trying to monitor us, they're just trying to say, we've got 5 Black people working here, or the equality law maybe needs readdressing and re-looking at. And how do you enforce something like that? How do you truly, even if we went and got the laws changed, would the police come knocking on your door because you're not? How would it be? This is a problem. I think it comes to the heart of people and how people innately are. Because if there's an employer and he's not employing Black people, how do you make him? Is it just how do you make him? And then would you make that person's life hell because they're in there now and he didn't want them in there?
I think you're right there, Paula. It's down to the people, because you could have a white guy that's selling his house. What stops him from selling his house to a Black man? Do you know what I mean? Do you understand what I mean by that? Nothing stops us from that happening, because he has believed about. He doesn't want to sell his house to a Black guy. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely agree. Yeah.
Just center on the people themselves and making the change.
Because you can make a law, but it doesn't need forever.
In my mind, I was like, we're going to make this one a bit shorter because
and it never is, isn't it?
But I feel like there's still things that I want to say that I've not said.
Yeah, I could sit here and chat all day.
So same as last week, we're just gonna choose a song each that Sharon's gonna put together into a playlist at the end of the episode, hopefully. And so really to do with unity, kind of relevant to the topics that we've been discussing, like social justice. So like songs that kind of fit that theme. So who wants to go first?
I'll go. My song is Coffee, Black Pride.
My song is Nas, If I Rule the World.
Oh, nice.
Okay, mine's not. It's not really on the topic, but just I have two favorite songs, like favorite ever songs. One of them is "Hopeful" by Faith Evans, or Hope.
Oh, yes.
Yes,
I
love that.
And
Yes.
the other one is "Count Your Blessings" by Nas and Damian Marley, and that's just a feel-good song, you know, such a good vibe.
That reminds me of being in the park at Carnival.
Definitely. Yeah.
Last week I did J. Cole, Crooked Smile, and this week I'll do another J. Cole, and it's Love Yours.
I'm gonna go for Black Eyed Peas. Where is the love? Cause
Love the song.
where is the love?
Girl,
Love
go
is
girl,
everything.
love it.
I'm gonna say Michael Jackson, Man in the Mirror, and Bob Marley, Buffalo Soldier.
Fantastic.
Oh, nice.
Wonderful, Rebecca. Excellent.
So I hope you like this video, and remember to like, share, and follow our Instagram page.
Thanks for listening.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Stay safe.